Welcome back to Spiritual Context for Worldly Chaos. This is the second episode of Taylor's 2023 interview. I hope you enjoy it.
So I think it's been a very cool process of figuring out how to download some of my subconscious into the tangible, and in a strange way, like translate some of my subconscious as a means to give language to other people and to allow other people access to their subconscious reactions as well, which is a lot of the feedback I've been getting, which is so cool. A lot of people have said, like, this has activated my understanding in a really unique way. I am able to, like, the whole concept of portals is I want to pull you into the card. I want every card to be an individual portal into that experience. And what I've received in terms of feedback is that that's very much what I've accomplished, which is just cool. Like, it's a very 12th house like activity, which it feels wild. So yeah.
Oh yeah, I would absolutely agree. And if anybody hasn't yet, please click the link in the bio to look at portals. There's a lot of the cards up on Taylor's website, so that'll take you straight there. So as we're talking about her cards, you can, kind of look through some of them, because they all look like individual dreams. They look like different dreams I'm having. It can be like a really beautiful dream, or a fever dream, or an inquisitive dream, or a traveling dream, or a psychological, whatever. They're the collage of it gives me a lot to jump off from. And I think that anybody who really leans into their intuition, like we were saying, appreciates that. And I mentioned the sci-fi because so many of your cards have this stellar star, like the planets are, and it looks like, a little like your astrology as well, but there's stars everywhere and there's planets everywhere, and there's a lot of it that has kind of like that void feeling to it, like almost like a big bang feeling to it, especially the aces. So something I've noticed, and I think I noticed it while we were rapping about it, but I don't know if I've ever asked you, so I'm happy that we're doing this now. You sometimes in the minor arcana sometimes use traditional symbolism of swords, cups. I don't know if you do it at all in the Pentacles, and maybe a little bit in the wands with the torches and things like that. So tell me about that. I love that you veer away from it. I love that you break, because it still has the same system, so I don't feel like it's an oracle card by any means. But what was your idea behind sometimes doing it, sometimes pulling us away from it? Let's love to hear your thoughts.
I will go ahead and be honest and forthright and say there was not necessarily a precise formula, nor like real rhyme or reason to the frequency at which I was using the traditional symbolism. And I just claim that right as a Pisces stellium.
Yes, I love it. I think it's great. I just didn't know there was like a real reason.
After the fact, I did think, like, when I make another deck, I think I will want to systemize it a bit more, and I will want to be intentional with it. But this was a very, Uranus moving through my 5th house, activating my Mars. Like, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Like, you got to jump in right now and, like, don't think about the rules. Don't try to live up to anyone's expectations. I need you to just finish a deck for you and, like, just see what that feels like. Can you just do that? And so I just gave myself free rein. I was like, you know what, whatever it takes, because I don't finish things.
That.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't finish things, and I have a hard time. It was a very challenging process. I have a hard time when things aren't exactly as I envision them. Making compromises creatively is difficult. What I want rarely translates. So, like, I was like, just take off the training wheels, okay, and just go. Just, like, wherever you end
take
up,
off the
just
pressure.
Like, just go there, okay? Just please have fun, okay? Can we just make this fun?
Yeah, and that's art too. It's flow.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks.
But I want to say, particularly with the Pentacles, you did bring up that I did not use the Pentacle symbol at all, and I believe you are correct. I'm like, I want to flip through them. I'm pretty sure that there's not a single one.
I'm
and
pretty sure there's not. Yeah.
I will say, like, that was definitely, it was not my intention to not use any, but it was very much an intentional challenge I took on to show the pentacles in a perspective that was not necessarily 100% like materialistic or like financially indicative. I wanted to explore what it would mean to pull a pentacle and to be pulled into our bodies and our physical surroundings, as well as our habits and our perception of our resources, rather than feeling like, you know, kind of the traditional progression of, okay, like I was poor, and then like I saved money, and then I was poor, and then like finally I kind of evened out, and then like I invested my money, and then I got enough money to streamline my process, and now I have enough money to look out on my property, and now I have enough money to share with other people that I love. And like it is so real, because listen, that is the world that we live in, and like 1,000%.
Stuck on 5, so
oh my god,
stuck on the
like,
5 of Pentacles, guys.
listen, that showed up for me last week as an energy to bring into the week, and I was like, what are you saying to me?
Stop it.
Stop. Like,
Shut your mouth.
Excuse you. So I just, you know, I absolutely recognize and believe, like, actively in my readings, I still see the very tangible and real application of financial circumstances applying to our pentacles. But I also wanted to, and this might be a little bit of like kind of us being the generation that's evolving how we talk about these things. I kind of wanted to think about, like, what if it was just more of our like experience of pleasure, or like our access to our earthly realm, and like what we make of this environment as we engage with it. And like one in particular, the 6 of Pentacles, is 6 hands reaching up for oranges that are like kind of freely falling from this tree. And
I love that imagery. It's so pretty.
Thank you. And it feels very wholesome to me. And, you know, I actually just came across a question in a Discord about, like, you know, reading the original 6 of Pentacles meaning in the Rider-Waite Pamela Coleman Smith tarot. You know, what he writes is that a person in the guise of a merchant is like weighing these kind of, and so it was a question about, like, what does this language imply to us? Like, what are we to make of this? And so I think there are a lot of rigid perspectives that we carry, that we are overdue in outgrowing, about kind of the hierarchy of resources, or the intentional elitism within access to resources, and instead just kind of thinking about relaxing some of those mindsets. And I think maybe what I wanted was to create a little more security and feeling of trust in our natural world, because we've become so hyper-dependent on the machinations we've created, and many of which we need to survive. But, you know, I feel like we can all, something we do in hypnosis, when you do hypnosis with me, is that we always go to a peaceful place that is in nature. And so I feel like just bringing more connection to nature, especially when we're talking about being bodies and trying to, you know, secure resources, I feel like is always just a helpful place to start. Like, let's just start by being grounded, you know?
Absolutely. And nature is just its own meditative quality. Like, you know, hearing the trees rustle, the birds chirp, you know, the babbling brook, you know, it has its own life that's not, it's present, you know, and we're the creatures that live in the past and the future all of the time. You know, we're the ones that are constantly time traveling, but our bodies are not time traveling.
Mm.
So to calm our bodies down, I think
Mm-hmm.
that's a perfect place to start. So actually, you're going into my next series of questions. So
Yay.
we're just so in tune with each other,
I
everybody.
love it.
Me and Taylor just get each other.
It's almost like we've been doing this for a long time.
Forever. Exactly. So I actually would love to kind of break down each suit so that anybody who's using portals can kind of feel the connection that I mean, not necessarily want everyone to have, but like, or maybe intended, but something that you can open up to people, because that is, I found, in my tarot journey, that one of the hardest things to do was to break out of what I thought tarot was supposed to convey. And I think everybody has their own thing. Mine was, it needs to be relatable, realistic, and the future has got to be there. And other people are like, no, I want it to be more spiritual, or I want it to be more about just the human experience, or I want it to be about. So there's so many different ways you can approach tarot, because there's an infinite amount of questions and an infinite amount of reasons or undercurrents or stories that come out of those questions. So let's go through each of the suits just to see, how a person who uses portals can tap into that dreamy imagery, and in a way that kind of reflects your interpretation, your perspective on tarot reading, because I know you're such an advocate for the marginalized. You really are very outspoken about capitalism, outspoken about, just everybody or everything that is really the real reason everything is, I don't want to say any bad words, but I don't really know what else to say.
Right.
Everything is,
Oh my gosh.
so
Yeah.
I know that there's a lot of that or at least there is a potential for that in there. If you want to read from a place, like you said, from Pentacles place, that's more about sharing and about value and about worth and about give and take and about time and about, letting yourself stay with yourself for a long period instead of, results oriented, right? Because that's what Pentacles is with money, is results oriented. So let's start with the wands, if you will. If I'm using portals and a wands come out, besides, the normal terminology of action and decisions, how would you say that I should look at the wands when I'm looking or using your deck portals?
So the word that came to mind was, or the phrase, I suppose, rather, is like life force energy. I think of the wands as like our sense of purpose, our sense of, fire being that sort of life-giving essence. It's like without fire, we are cold inside. We are unfulfilled. We are, and so I think of it as, what is it that we are called toward? What is it that alights us from within and keeps burning when other things aren't available, like when those other resources aren't there? And that's what I think when we hit like the 9 and the 10 of wands, it's the journey that doesn't end. It's where we realize that, like, oh, if this goes onward, it's because I'm the one driving it. It's because I'm the one here. And so I feel like it is that, like, what keeps me when all else is dark, like what keeps me kind of lit up from the inside.
And that like gives me the feeling of if I want something, that's okay. If I, want to go in a direction that other people can't see, that's okay. If I want to take a leap of faith or believe in myself individually and without the support of others, that's okay. Would you say that that's also kind of, if you were to pull that, it could talk about that life force of you don't have to wait for something to come to you. You can take the action on your own and even learn the hard lessons of that will also help you grow?
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. What you just said helped me kind of understand that, like, the wands along with the swords are kind of these solo journeys, whereas the cups and the pentacles are connective. We are connecting with people, emotions, we're connecting with earth, with resources, but with the wands, the Two of Wands is like me figuring out where I want to go. Like, you're not here. You're not here. And much like the Two of Swords, you know, it's me and my intuition and my instincts. Like, no one else is calling the shots. Like, I got to figure out where I'm going. So yes, I think absolutely there is permission in the wands to lean into the interdependent side of the narrative, to do that self-actualization, to tap into what it is to have an ego, understanding that ego itself is neutral, right? Like, neither bad nor good, but literally just, you know, do you recognize that you are a human who has individual needs? Like, are you, you know, and like that's
your identity. You know, however you see yourself is up to you, you know, however you experience. I mean, granted, everything can happen to you and those are completely valid things, but you as an individual are your own. And your ego is the portal, right, from which your identity shines. And if there's something that you would like to change, then that starts with you and ends with you.
Yeah, absolutely. That feels very like, you know, first house, seventh house kind of vibes of like, we're never alone in ourselves, but we do have the parts of us that we self-amplify and the parts that we kind of amplify in collaboration, perhaps. But yeah, absolutely. I love that.
So thinking about the cups, because when we get there, we have all these lavender colors. I think there's a good amount of water in each one, right? Like, it really is a flowing feeling. And it kind of reminds me of what you were saying in the beginning of like letting your artistry flow or letting your emotions flow. How would you tell somebody using portals about the cups? Like, what would you say?
Yeah, you know, you're right. I think there might be water in every one of these. I'm sorting. This is a nice opportunity for me to kind of sort my deck for the first time in a while. And so, yeah, you are, from what I've seen so far, there's definitely a lot of water. And I think, you know, this part of the deck felt very intuitive. This was not a section of the deck or a suit that was difficult to put together.
Pisces.
You know, I think with something like the swords, which we'll get to, obviously, it seems obvious to think about why that would be a little more painful. The cups felt it felt very easy to think about what connection, you know, to come back to where we're kind of self-actualizing versus where we're collaborating with others. I think that's something that I just am very familiar with. And like collaborating being this something that my Pisces stellium is like always trying to do, and like always trying to imagine how to do better, always trying to imagine how to do with more integrity. And so I think these came really easily to me, especially the Queen of Cups, who has like a pearl and a waterfall for a torso. And just that idea of, yeah, being very in flow with nature. Clearly, this is a very nature-focused deck. But yeah, just being very at ease with the flow of water, whatever the state of being is. And I think that's so much of the cups, is not just who am I connecting with and what is the state of that connection and what's the, you know, to go back to what you said, the results based, you know, what's the result of this connection? But what is this awakening in me? You know, so there being maybe two sides of that suit journey. One, what am I connecting with and what does that feel like? But also reflecting back within me, like, what is that allowing me to feel more comfortable with? And so I think that's very much a journey that we see evolve in this suit. And yeah, being a heavily watery person, I think this one came together very easily. There we go.
Very natural to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, sometimes when we think about water, you know, if our minds go straight to connections or relationships, it can be an easy element to wrap your head around. But if you think about it, like you start with fire, that, you know, ignites and then gets extinguished. But water is everywhere all the time. You know, things are evaporating, water vapors, you know, you're drinking water, you're taking a shower, it's constant. So it's not something you actually a lot of times want to change, because you want your relationships to continue. You want your happiness to continue. You want to, you know, have your artistry flow and be completely available to you. And I think that's kind of what I feel when I look at when I look at the water in your cups, is just like, let something out, almost maybe like how this whole deck came out of you after hypnosis, or after past life regressions. It's just like, let, all of this feeling, or all of this, not identity, just imagination, channeling, being a spirit living inside of a body, and letting that spirit express itself without the identity, more so just through love and compassion and just creativity, creating for creating's sake. Exactly.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I hope to see you at the next one. And as always, as above, so below, blessed be.